It's hard to put into words exactly what this constant pressure feels like you're running on a treadmill that's speeding up every day, but you can't jump off. I'm 27, and for most of my adult life, money has felt like a shadow that's always just a step behind me, growing larger with every step I try to take forward. It's exhausting, confusing, and honestly, sometimes it's just really lonely. I remember when I graduated college. I was hopeful, maybe a little naive. I thought getting a degree would open doors, that steady work would mean stability. But the world I stepped into was different from what I'd imagined. The job market was tight, rent was already high, and everything, food, gas, utilities, seemed to be climbing in price faster than my paycheck. I got a decent entry-level job, and for a while, I convinced myself I was doing okay. But then, bills came in, unexpected expenses popped up, and the savings I had started with quickly dwindled. Every month, I sit down with my budget, and it feels like a math problem that never adds up. Rent takes a big bite, leaving just enough for the essentials, groceries, transportation, a phone bill. But what's left for emergencies? For the little joys in life? For the future? Almost nothing. The stress from juggling these numbers doesn't stop when I close the spreadsheet. It creeps into my thoughts, wraps itself around my mood. Some days, I wake up with this pit in my stomach just thinking about how I'm going to make it through the month. The rising cost of everything feels like a slow, relentless pressure, squeezing me tighter and tighter. It's not just the big stuff like rent or utilities. It's the small things that add up, the $4 coffee I skip because it's a luxury I can't afford, the bus ticket I can't take because it's a few dollars more than I planned, the prescription I put off refilling because I'm hoping the symptoms will go away on their own. There's a constant, nagging calculation in my head: is this a need or a want? Can I afford this, or do I have to wait? That mental math never lets up. Sometimes I feel trapped, like the system is designed to keep people like me just barely afloat. My income hasn't kept pace with inflation, and the cost of living keeps rising. Debt feels like a looming shadow, credit card balances for necessities, small loans to cover emergency car repairs, medical bills that come out of nowhere. I try to keep it under control, but every month I'm faced with the choice of paying down debt or covering basic expenses. Neither feels like a real choice, just the lesser of two bad options. This ongoing financial strain takes a toll on my emotional well-being. I catch myself feeling defeated, anxious, even ashamed. It's hard not to compare myself to friends or colleagues who seem to be thriving, buying homes, traveling, investing in their futures. Meanwhile, I'm postponing everything that once felt possible. The dream of moving out of this tiny apartment, the idea of saving for a trip, even the simple hope of building an emergency fund feels distant. I tell myself these things will come one day, but that day always seems just out of reach. Coping with all this isn't easy. I've developed routines to stretch my money as far as possible: meal prepping on Sundays, hunting for discounts, taking on side gigs when I can. But these solutions are temporary band-aids, not cures. I try to lean on friends, but talking about money struggles often feels taboo or embarrassing. There's a fear of being judged or seen as not managing. So, I keep a lot of it bottled up, which only adds to the weight. Despite all this, I haven't given up on hope. I still hold on to the belief that things can get better, even if the path isn't clear right now. I dream about stability, having a little breathing room in my budget, a reliable emergency fund, a chance to invest in myself or a passion project. I imagine a future where I'm not counting every penny or feeling like I'm failing for not keeping up with a system that seems stacked against me. This economic reality shapes everything I do. It influences where I live, what I buy, how I plan for the future, and even how I see myself. It's frustrating and demoralizing, but it also fuels a quiet resilience. I remind myself that I'm not alone, that so many others are navigating this same struggle. I hold on to that, hoping one day the treadmill will slow down, and I can finally step off and catch my breath. Until then, I keep moving forward, sometimes barely, sometimes with more determination than I thought I had, because what else is there to do but try? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. Every morning, I wake up with the same sinking feeling settling in my chest before I even open my eyes. It's like a weight, heavy, relentless, and invisible to anyone else but crushing to me. I'm 27, and most people I know from school or childhood seem to be moving forward, buying homes, traveling, starting families. Meanwhile, I'm here, caught in a cycle where every paycheck feels like it's just enough to cover what I spent last month, with nothing left over for anything that feels like progress. The economic environment right now? It's like quicksand. Every time I think I'm making headway, the ground shifts under me. Rent has gone up twice in the past year, and groceries aren't getting cheaper. Utilities, transportation, healthcare, everything seems to climb steadily while my income stays the same, stagnant. I work full-time, sometimes extra hours, yet the math just doesn't add up. Expenses grow faster than my paychecks. It's a maddening imbalance that makes me question what all this effort is even for. This pressure doesn't just touch my bank account, it invades my mind and spirit. I find myself constantly anxious, distracted by the nagging questions: can I cover rent this month? What if my car breaks down? Am I going to have to choose between buying groceries or paying a bill? Sometimes, in the quiet moments before sleep, I lie awake thinking about the future, and it feels like I'm trapped in a tiny box with no door. It's exhausting to keep pretending that things will magically improve. The truth is, every day is a battle to not sink deeper. The thing is, I try so hard to be responsible. I track my expenses with apps, cut back on extras like dining out or subscriptions, and I cook all my meals at home, even if that means eating the same thing every day. I've stopped going to concerts or social events because they feel like luxuries I can't afford. Even when friends invite me out, I find myself making excuses or declining, because the truth is, I can't afford to spend money on things that don't feel necessary. And that loneliness? It's another weight. Coping isn't easy. Sometimes, I try to distract myself with books, movies, or walks in the park. I reach out to friends online, but it's hard to fully open up. I don't want to be the person who's always struggling or negative. But inside, the pressure builds, like a storm I'm trying to hold back. I've had moments of tears, late at night, overwhelmed by the sheer relentlessness of it all. Financial stress isn't just about numbers, it's about feeling like you're failing yourself, like you're stuck in a game rigged against you. There are dreams I used to have, dreams that now seem like distant memories. I wanted to travel, see the world, experience new cultures. I dreamed of finishing grad school, maybe starting my own business one day, or at least having enough savings to feel secure. But those plans feel like luxuries now. I've had to postpone them indefinitely. Instead of looking forward, I'm often just looking down, trying not to stumble. The societal narrative around hard work pays off feels hollow. I work hard, but the system feels designed to keep people like me just afloat, never truly moving ahead. I see the headlines about inflation, wage stagnation, housing crises, and it's frustrating and isolating. Sometimes I wonder if anyone really understands what it's like to live this way, day after day, without a clear end in sight. Despite everything, I hold on to hope. It's fragile, but it's there. I remind myself that this isn't forever. Maybe I'll find a better job, maybe the economy will shift, or maybe I'll discover a new way to make things work. I try to celebrate the small wins, paying off a credit card, saving a little bit in an emergency fund, or simply making it through another week without falling behind. But even with hope, the truth remains, living with ongoing financial pressure is like being trapped in a maze that keeps changing its walls. You move forward carefully, but the exit always seems just out of reach. And while it's easy for others to see only the surface, me smiling, showing up, getting through each day, inside, I'm fighting to keep from breaking, to keep from giving up on the life I once dreamed of. I wake up every morning to the same relentless pressure squeezing my chest, a tightness that's become as familiar as the ringing alarm on my phone. It's hard to pinpoint when exactly this feeling took hold, but it's been there, lurking, for years now. Financial pressure isn't just about numbers, it's this constant, exhausting tug that reaches into every corner of my life, turning the simplest decisions into battles. The world around me feels like a machine designed to keep people like me running on empty. Rent keeps climbing. Groceries cost more every week. Bills multiply, sneaking into my budget like unwelcome shadows. But my paycheck? It's stubbornly the same. Or worse, sometimes it feels like it's shrinking when I factor in inflation, rising interest rates, and everything else that's outside my control. It's this dizzying imbalance that makes me feel trapped, as if I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up while I'm barely able to keep pace. Most mornings, I brew the cheapest coffee I can find. It's more habit than pleasure now, but even that small ritual reminds me how tight things are. I can't afford the fancy blends I used to enjoy or the occasional treat I'd let myself have on payday. Every dollar has to stretch. Sometimes, I find myself staring at my phone, scrolling through apps for coupons or deals on food or household essentials, clinging to tiny savings like they're lifelines. The reality is, my job doesn't pay nearly enough. It's stable, yes, but stability doesn't mean comfort or security. I clock in, do my work, and clock out, but the paycheck barely keeps up with my expenses. I'm constantly juggling. Should I pay the electric bill this week, or stock up on groceries? Should I skip a workout class to save on gas? Even the idea of medical care feels like a luxury I can't afford unless it's absolutely critical. Preventive visits? Forget it. I've learned to live with discomfort because a visit to the doctor could mean choosing between health and groceries. This financial tightrope has stretched so thin it's almost invisible now. But the weight is real. It presses on me, drains my energy, and chips away at my confidence. I'm embarrassed to admit how often I avoid social invitations because I can't afford to eat out or catch a movie with friends. It's lonely sometimes, and I miss the connection, but I can't explain that I'm not just avoiding them, I'm avoiding the crushing reminder of how little financial freedom I have. Sometimes, I feel like I'm invisible in this system that was never designed to help people like me get ahead. The cost of living rises faster than wages, and there's no safety net strong enough to catch me when I slip. Every unexpected expense, a broken phone, a car repair, a medical bill, throws me into a panic. It's a spiral I've been caught in more times than I can count, and each time it chips away a bit more of my hope. I dream, of course. I dream about a life where money isn't the first thing I think about when I wake up. I imagine having a place I can call my own, where the rent isn't a daily source of dread. I want to travel, to see the world beyond the confines of my city, but that feels like a fantasy far beyond my reach right now. I even think about going back to school, but the student debt, on top of everything else, is a wall too high to climb. To cope, I've developed a kind of armor made of routines and distractions. I lose myself in books, in podcasts, in cheap hobbies that don't demand a lot of money but offer moments of escape. I cling to the small victories, a day when I manage to save a few dollars, a week without an unexpected expense, a compliment from a coworker. These tiny moments are my lifeboats in a sea that sometimes feels overwhelming. But some nights, when I'm alone and the house is quiet, the weight feels heavier. I lie awake thinking about all the things I've had to postpone or give up. The dinners with friends I said no to, the bills I paid late, the dreams that seem to fade a little more with each passing month. The feeling of being trapped is suffocating. I want to scream that I'm trying, that I'm more than just numbers on a spreadsheet, but the system doesn't hear me. It's indifferent to struggle and fatigue. Still, I hold on. Because giving up would mean letting go of the hope that things can get better, even if I can't see exactly how right now. Maybe someday the paycheck will catch up. Maybe someday I'll stop choosing between necessities and dreams. Maybe someday I'll have the freedom to live without this gnawing fear of financial collapse. Until then, I keep waking up, keep pushing through. Because despite everything, there's a stubborn spark inside me that refuses to be extinguished. I'm more than my financial stress. I'm more than this moment of struggle. and that thought, fragile as it is, keeps me moving forward. I never thought I'd be here, sitting in my small, dimly lit apartment, scrolling through yet another list of bills, trying to figure out how to stretch what little money I have left this month. It's not like I'm lazy or careless. I work 2 jobs, sometimes 3, and I'm always tired, but the bills just keep piling up. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, phone, student loans, every month it feels like the numbers grow faster than I can keep up with, and my paycheck barely budges. I remember when I first moved out, I was full of hope. I had just graduated, optimistic that the economy would turn around soon and that I'd find a job that paid enough for me to live comfortably, maybe even save a little. I had dreams: travel to Europe, maybe go back to school for my master's, buy a car someday, and live in a place where I didn't have to count every single cent. But those dreams feel so far away now. It's like they're under a thick layer of dust and doubt. Everyday life has become a balancing act that I'm losing. I wake up exhausted because I stayed up late trying to finish freelance work to make extra money. I skip meals sometimes because groceries are expensive and I'm trying to save for the electric bill. I use public transportation, even when I'm dead tired, because owning a car is just not an option. I constantly wonder if I should cancel my internet. It feels ridiculous to think about losing that connection to the world, but then I realize I need it for work and for the rare moments when I just want to escape with a movie or a podcast. The economic pressure isn't just about money, it's about how it makes me feel. There's this constant knot of anxiety in my chest, a quiet panic that never fully goes away. When I get an unexpected expense, like a medical bill or a car repair, it feels like a punch to the gut. Sometimes I lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'm going to manage next month, or if I'll have to borrow from a friend again. I hate that feeling, that creeping shame of depending on others, even though they're kind enough to help. I'm trapped in this system where prices keep rising but my income doesn't. Inflation makes everything more expensive: rent, food, gas, but my paycheck stays the same. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, and no matter how fast I run, I'm stuck in the same place or moving backward. It's exhausting. And it's isolating. Sometimes, I feel invisible to the people around me who don't understand why I'm always stressed, why I decline invitations to go out, or why I'm so tired all the time. Coping with this pressure is a daily challenge. I try to find small moments of relief. I write in a journal sometimes, just to get the feelings out. I binge-watch shows to escape reality for a few hours, even if it means staying up later than I should. I try to remind myself of what I've accomplished. I graduated college, I hold down jobs, I'm not giving up, but the weight of financial stress makes it hard to see those wins clearly. They're buried under the exhaustion and the worry. Sometimes, I fantasize about what life would be like if money weren't the main concern. I imagine waking up without the pressure to figure out how to pay rent or what I'll eat that day. I imagine traveling to places I've only seen in photos, meeting new people, experiencing new things. But those dreams have had to be put on hold indefinitely. I can't justify spending money on flights or hotels when I'm still struggling to pay for basics. I know I'm not alone in this. I see the news, hear stories from friends, and sometimes the despair feels collective. But knowing others struggle doesn't make it easier. Sometimes, it just adds to the feeling that the system is broken, that it's not a matter of working hard enough, but that the deck is stacked against people like me. It's hard not to feel bitter or hopeless. Yet, despite it all, I keep going. There's a stubborn part of me that refuses to give up on the future, even if it looks different than what I imagined. I'm learning to be patient with myself, to celebrate small victories like paying off a credit card or saving a few dollars extra this month. I remind myself that this is a chapter in my life, not the whole story. I hope for a day when I can breathe freely again, when financial stress isn't the first thing on my mind every morning and the last thing at night. Until then, I keep pushing forward, because giving up isn't an option, even if the road ahead is uncertain and the weight on my shoulders feels heavier every day. That's my truth. That's the reality for so many of us trying to survive in a world where expenses grow faster than our paychecks, where dreams have to wait, and where hope is both fragile and fierce. I never imagined adulthood would feel like walking through quicksand, each step heavier than the last, no matter how hard I try to pull myself out. The paycheck comes, and before I can even breathe, it's gone, swallowed up by rent, groceries, bills, and that creeping tide of expenses that just keeps rising faster than I can keep up. Some days, it feels like I'm running on a treadmill set to sprint speed, but I'm barely moving forward. I graduated college full of hope and plans. I wanted to travel, start saving, maybe even buy a car. I dreamed about cozy apartments, dinners out with friends, and the little luxuries that make life sweet. But somewhere along the way, those dreams started feeling distant, like mirages shimmering just beyond my reach. The world changed, the economy shifted, and suddenly, the math didn't add up anymore. My income stayed stubbornly stagnant while everything else, rent, utilities, food, healthcare, climbed relentlessly. Each month feels like a balancing act on a thin wire. I wake up, check my bank account, and brace myself. Sometimes, I can cover the basics with a little wiggle room, and other times, I have to make painful choices, skip a meal, delay a necessary purchase, or tighten my budget even more. Evenings are often spent poring over spreadsheets or budgeting apps, trying to squeeze every cent out of what little I have left. It's exhausting, mentally, emotionally, physically. The pressure seeps into everything. I've stopped answering calls from unknown numbers because I fear the worst, another bill, a collection agency, or a reminder I'm falling behind. Social gatherings feel like minefields. When a friend suggests dinner out or a weekend trip, I'm torn between wanting to join and the gnawing anxiety about the cost. I lie sometimes, saying I'm busy or can't make it because admitting I can't afford it feels like admitting failure. The loneliness that creeps in is suffocating. Watching people around me seem to live more freely, spending on things I can only window shop in my mind, is isolating. I try not to resent anyone. I know we all have our battles, but the feeling of being trapped in this economic pressure cooker can turn my own self-worth into a casualty. Am I just not working hard enough? Should I be hustling more, side gigging, grinding until I drop? But the truth is, I'm tired. Bone deep tired. Sometimes, when I'm alone in my small apartment, I let the vulnerability break through. I cry quietly, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. I'm scared for the future, scared that my debts will only grow, scared that the cost of living will keep climbing and my paycheck will forever lag behind. I wonder how long I can keep going like this without breaking. I cope the best I can. I've gotten creative, meal prepping to avoid eating out, cutting out every unnecessary subscription, and hunting for discounts like it's a full-time job. I find solace in little things, long walks in the park, reading books borrowed from the library, and trying to practice mindfulness when anxiety threatens to take over. I cling to hope, even when it's faint, that this isn't how my life will always be. And that's the hardest part, hope. Because dreams have to be postponed. The vacation I once envisioned is now a distant, maybe someday. The car I needed to get to better jobs remains a fantasy. Saving for emergencies feels impossible when just covering the present feels like an uphill battle. But deep down, I know I need to hold on to something positive, even if it's just the tiniest flicker. Maybe one day, the economy will shift again. Maybe I'll get that promotion, find a better paying job, or finally break free from this trap. Until then, I'll keep moving forward, step by painful step. This isn't how I imagined my 20s, but it's my reality, and I have to live it as best I can. I'm learning to be gentle with myself, acknowledging the struggle without letting it define me. Because even in this economic storm, I'm still here, still dreaming, still hoping for a better tomorrow. And that's worth holding on to. I never thought I'd find myself in this kind of endless financial grind, one that feels less like a series of challenges and more like a trap with no clear exit. At 27, I imagined I'd be figuring out who I am, maybe traveling, or even buying a small place of my own. Instead, most days, I'm just trying to make the numbers add up, hoping I don't miss a payment or run out of groceries before payday. It's exhausting in a way that goes beyond physical tiredness. It's a weariness that seeps deep into your bones, into your thoughts, and into the quiet moments when you're alone with your fears. I work full-time, but no matter how hard I try, my paycheck never stretches far enough. The rent keeps climbing, just like the price of everything else: gas, groceries, utilities. It's like the world's been designed to squeeze you dry. Last week, I had to choose between filling my gas tank and buying some fresh vegetables. I went with gas because I needed to get to work, but that decision left me feeling hollow, like I was betraying myself just to survive. It's these small compromises that pile up, one after another, wearing down my sense of dignity and hope. Some mornings, I wake up with this heavy knot in my stomach because I'm already running through the math before my feet even hit the floor. How much do I have left for food? Did I pay that credit card bill on time? Can I afford the bus ticket if my car breaks down again? The anxiety never really leaves. It's like a shadow I carry everywhere, whispering that I'm barely one missed paycheck away from disaster. And with inflation sneaking up on every corner, it's harder and harder to breathe freely. It's not just about the money. It's the way this pressure infiltrates every choice I make. When friends invite me out for drinks or a weekend trip, I have to say no, again. I've stopped sharing the small joys that keep people connected because I'm afraid they'll see how strained I am, how the invisible weight of bills and debts makes me retreat. I've learned to smile and say I'm busy or saving up, but the truth is I feel so isolated, like I'm on the outside of life watching everyone else live. Sometimes, when the loneliness feels unbearable, I lie awake imagining what my life could be if money wasn't always the first thing I worried about. I dream of traveling somewhere I've never been, just to feel free. I think about going back to school, or starting a small business, or even just having a quiet dinner with friends without checking the price of every ingredient. But those dreams feel so distant now, as if they belong to someone else living a different life. Every time I try to reach for them, reality pulls me back by the collar. Coping with all this isn't easy. I try to find small pockets of peace, like going for walks in the park, reading a good book from the library, or listening to music that makes me feel less alone. I've started budgeting with an app, hoping that maybe, somehow, I can outsmart the system that's squeezing me. But no matter how careful I am, it feels like I'm just rearranging deck chairs on a sinking ship. There's always another expense, another unexpected cost, a broken phone, a medical bill, an increase in utility rates, that sends me spiraling back into panic. The hardest part is the feeling of being stuck. I see people around me advancing, buying homes, saving for retirement, planning families. Meanwhile, I'm here, barely scraping by, with a constant gnawing fear that I'm falling further behind. It's a slow erosion of self-worth, the kind that whispers, maybe I'm just not good enough or smart enough to get ahead. I know that's not true, but the system doesn't reward effort as much as it does timing and privilege, and I can't help but feel like I'm running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. Yet, despite it all, I haven't given up completely. Somewhere inside me is a flicker of hope, fragile but persistent. I remind myself that this chapter doesn't have to define my entire story. I hold on to the belief that if I keep pushing, keep learning, keep dreaming, maybe one day the weight will lighten. Maybe I'll find a way out, or at least a way to live that doesn't feel like drowning in bills and fear. For now, I take it day by day, sometimes hour by hour. I allow myself to feel the frustration and sadness without shame. I reach out when I can, even if it's just to someone who understands the struggle. And I try to remember that being trapped by financial pressure isn't a reflection of my worth, it's a symptom of a broken system, one I hope to rise above. So here I am, living a quiet battle most don't see, holding on to fragile dreams beneath the weight of growing expenses and stagnant income. It's not glamorous or heroic, it's real, raw, and exhausting. But it's my story, and I'm still writing it, one uncertain step at a time. I never imagined adult life would feel like this, like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up every single day, and no matter how fast I run, I'm stuck in the same place. The bills pile up, the rent creeps higher, groceries get more expensive, and my paycheck? It barely moves. It's this endless cycle where I'm constantly catching up, but never getting ahead. I graduated college with a degree I was proud of. I thought that piece of paper was a ticket to some kind of stability or at least a decent shot at it. But reality hit fast. The job I landed pays just enough to keep the lights on and the fridge from being empty, but not enough for anything more. Forget about savings or investments or emergencies, those are luxuries I've had to shelve. I tell myself it's temporary, that things will get better, but deep down, I know it's not that simple. Every day, I have to make these tiny, soul-sucking decisions. Do I skip buying a coffee to save a few bucks, or do I allow myself that small comfort because I've been awake since dawn? Do I eat the cheapest frozen meal or try to make something healthy that takes more time and money? The math of my life is exhausting. There's always some unexpected cost, a car repair, a medical bill, or an increase in my rent, that throws everything off balance. I don't just feel stressed, I feel trapped, like the walls are closing in and I'm running out of air. What makes it worse is the constant noise around me, people talking about side hustles, investing, buying homes, traveling. It feels like everyone else is moving forward while I'm stuck. I scroll through social media, and there they are, friends posting about their promotions, vacations, or even just a new couch. It's a reminder of what feels impossible for me right now. I try to stay off those apps, but sometimes it's the only way to connect with the world outside my cramped apartment. Emotionally, it's draining. I lie awake at night, worrying about money instead of sleeping. I catch myself snapping at friends or family, even though I know they don't deserve it. There's guilt wrapped up in the frustration, the guilt that I can't give more, that I have to say no to plans because I simply can't afford them. The shame that I'm supposed to have my life together at this age, but I'm still figuring out how to pay for gas. Sometimes, I just want to disappear, to stop feeling so exposed and vulnerable. But despite all this, I hold on to hope. Not the flashy kind that makes you think you'll be rich tomorrow, but a quiet, stubborn hope. I dream about a future where I can breathe easier, where I don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. I dream of traveling, of owning a home, of starting a family without the looming fear of financial ruin. Those dreams feel distant now, almost like echoes from a different life, but they keep me going. To cope, I've learned to find small moments of peace. I walk in the park near my apartment, even if it means skipping dinner sometimes, because the fresh air clears my head. I journal about my fears and frustrations, it helps me feel less alone. I've started reaching out for support, even if it's just a quick text to a trusted friend when the weight feels too heavy. I'm learning that survival isn't just about money, it's about protecting my mind and heart too. I don't have it all figured out, and some days are darker than others. But sharing this story, even if it's just here with you, feels like a breath of fresh air. Maybe someone else out there feels the same way, trapped but hopeful, exhausted but fighting. If that's you, know you're not alone. We're all just trying to find a way through this, one small step at a time. I never thought I'd end up feeling like this, constantly drained, caught in a loop where no matter how hard I work, it's never enough. I'm 26 now, and for years I've been trying to keep my head above water in a world that feels like it's designed to sink me. Every morning, I wake up knowing that the day ahead will be a careful negotiation between what I need and what I can afford, not just for myself, but sometimes for the people I care about too. The reality is, money has become a shadow I can't shake, and it's starting to swallow pieces of my hope and energy. The economic pressure isn't just a background noise, it's the beat that drives every decision I make. Rent, bills, groceries, gas, each one climbs a little higher every month, while my paycheck stays stubbornly flat. Inflation feels like this invisible tax on my dreams. I remember when I first moved out of my parents' house, feeling excited to carve my own path. I had plans, big plans. Travel, maybe graduate school someday, a little apartment with a balcony, plants, a dog even. But now, those dreams feel like luxuries I'm not allowed to afford. It's not just the numbers, though. It's the way this constant financial stress seeps into my bones and mind. At work, I'm always aware that every penny counts, so I push myself to do overtime when I can, even when my body protests. I take public transportation instead of the subway because it's cheaper, even if it doubles my commute. I skip meals sometimes or settle for instant noodles more often than I want to admit because fresh food is a treat that cuts too deep into the budget. I avoid doctors because co-pays add up, and mental health support is a luxury I can't justify, even though I know I need it. The emotional toll is heavy. There's this gnawing anxiety that never really lets up, like I'm waiting for the next bill to come and blow a hole in whatever stability I've cobbled together. It's embarrassing sometimes, feeling like I can't keep up with friends who seem to have endless resources or the freedom to take spontaneous trips or just buy things without a second thought. I've become a master of making excuses, dodging social invites, or pretending everything's fine when inside I'm just exhausted. The loneliness that comes with that is its own kind of poverty. I try to cope in whatever ways I can. Sometimes I journal, pouring my frustration out on paper because it feels safer than saying it aloud. Other times, I lose myself in podcasts or books, small escapes that remind me the world is bigger than my current bubble of struggle. I hold on to tiny moments of joy, a good song, a message from an old friend, a walk in the park, but even those can feel fleeting when the weight of financial reality presses so hard. And yet, despite it all, I haven't completely given up on the future. It's just different now. The big dreams have been downsized into manageable pieces. Instead of a cross-country trip, I hope for a weekend getaway somewhere close. Instead of grad school, maybe a certificate course that's more affordable. Instead of buying a dog, I imagine someday having enough space and time to volunteer at a shelter. My goals have become more about survival and small wins than grand achievements. I feel trapped in a system that's rigged to keep me running but never arriving. Expenses grow faster than my income, and that gap feels like a chasm I'm always staring into. The thought of debt terrifies me, but sometimes it seems like the only way to keep going, borrowing from tomorrow to pay for today. It's a cycle I hate but don't see an easy way out of. What hurts the most is the sense of invisibility. Like no one really sees how much this financial pressure is breaking me down, day by day. People say, just budget better or save more, but they don't see the months when my paycheck disappears before I even get it. They don't understand how many sacrifices happen behind closed doors or how lonely it is to feel like you're failing simply because the economy is unforgiving. Still, I cling to hope in my quieter moments. Hope that maybe one day, I'll break free from this trap. That I'll find a career path that pays what I deserve. That the cost of living won't feel like a stranglehold on my life. That I can reclaim my dreams instead of shelving them indefinitely. I'm tired, sure, but not completely defeated. This is my truth. I'm a young adult trying to survive in a world that's demanding more than I have to give. I'm tired of pretending it's just a phase or something I can push through with willpower alone. I'm scared, I'm exhausted, but I'm still here, holding on. Maybe that's enough for now. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I never thought I'd be here, writing about money the way people talk about heartbreak or illness, as if it's something that's slowly eating away at me from the inside. But here I am, a 27-year-old caught in a cycle that feels impossible to break, watching the numbers on bills and bank statements rise while my paycheck barely budges. Every month feels like a race I'm destined to lose, and some days, I wonder if I'm the only one who's drowning under the weight of it all. It's not that I don't work hard. I have a job I'm proud of, something that used to feel like a stepping stone to bigger things. But the economic environment around me? It's a beast with no mercy. Rent is climbing faster than my salary, groceries are more expensive every time I step into a store, and utilities sneak higher with each bill. And then there's the unexpected, a car repair, a medical copay, or the occasional emergency that shakes my fragile balance. They don't just disrupt my budget, they threaten to unravel me completely. Some mornings, I wake up with this pit in my stomach, a quiet anxiety that whispers, how are you going to make it through the day without falling behind? It's exhausting. I try not to let it show at work, but it's always there, lingering behind my smile and my I'm fine answers when friends ask how I'm doing. I don't want to be the person who's always complaining about money, but it's hard to ignore something that controls so much of my life. I used to dream differently. When I was a kid, I imagined moving out, finding a place that felt like home, traveling to new cities, maybe even going back to school to study something I loved. But those dreams have been quietly shelved, wrapped up in a box labeled "not now." I'm constantly postponing what I want because it feels irresponsible, selfish even, to spend money on anything that isn't essential. A weekend getaway, new clothes, a class, luxuries that now feel like distant fantasies. My daily decisions have become a math problem I'm always trying to solve. Do I cook at home or grab something quick? Should I take public transit or risk the cost of rideshares? Can I afford to pay the credit card bill this month, or do I have to let it roll over again, knowing the interest will punish me later? I budget obsessively, trying to anticipate every expense, but it never feels like enough. There's this constant tension between what I have to do and what I wish I could do, and it's exhausting. Emotionally, it's a roller coaster. Some days, I feel defeated before the day even begins, the weight of financial pressure pressing down on my chest. Other times, I catch myself slipping into denial, pretending everything's okay until the reality crashes back in with a letter from the bank or a late notice in the mail. I've become hyper-aware of every dollar spent, turning down invitations to social events because the cost feels too high, even when I know I'm missing out on connections that might help me feel less isolated. There's shame, too, a deep, gnawing shame. It's hard to admit that no matter how hard I work, I'm still struggling to keep my head above water. I compare myself to friends who seem to have it all figured out, and I feel like I'm failing. Sometimes I wonder if people think I'm just lazy or not trying hard enough, but the truth is, I'm exhausted. Trying is all I do. Still, I find moments of hope. I hold on to the small victories, managing to save a bit of money this month, cooking a meal that tastes like home, or simply getting through the day without a breakdown. I remind myself that this isn't forever, even though it feels like it might be. There's a stubborn part of me that believes in a better future, that dreams deferred don't have to be dreams dead. I've started thinking about ways to change my situation, like going back to school or learning new skills that could lead to a better job. But those options come with their own costs and risks, and it's hard not to feel stuck in a system that seems designed to keep people like me just barely afloat. The rising cost of living feels like a tide pulling me under, and no matter how hard I swim, I can't quite reach the shore. At night, when the world quiets down, I sometimes let myself imagine a life where I'm not constantly worried about money. A life where I can say yes to opportunities instead of calculating if they're worth it. A life where I don't feel trapped by invisible chains of debt and bills. It feels distant, almost unreachable, but it's what keeps me going. So I keep going. I keep budgeting, clipping coupons, taking on extra shifts when I can, and hoping that one day, things will turn around. Because giving up isn't an option, even though some days I wish it were easier. This is my reality, frustrating, tiring, and uncertain, but it's also mine. And as hard as it is, I'm still here, still fighting, still dreaming. Some mornings, I wake up feeling like I'm already behind, like the day has started without me even being ready. It's not just the alarm clock or the rush to get out the door, it's the weight that sits heavy on my chest, the one that's been building for years, pressing down harder every month. Financial pressure. It's like a shadow that follows me everywhere, even into the moments where I'm supposed to feel free or at peace. I'm 27 now, and most days I feel like I'm stuck in a system designed to keep me running but never letting me win. My income grows a little bit each year, sure, but my expenses? They skyrocket. Rent goes up, groceries get pricier, utilities drain my paycheck faster, and any little emergency is a crisis. It's like I'm on a treadmill that speeds up every time I glance at my bank account, and no matter how fast I run, I can't get ahead. I try to tell myself this is temporary, that if I keep working hard, things will change, but the truth is, the change feels farther away with every bill I pay. Some days, I catch myself budgeting for the basics like a desperate game of Tetris, fitting meals, transportation, rent, and phone bills into a tight box that's already overflowing. I skip meals or cut down on coffee just to stretch the grocery money. When the fridge is almost empty, I'm constantly bargaining with myself over what I need versus what I want. A decent meal, a night out with friends, even a small treat feels like a luxury I can't afford. Social invitations are an anxiety minefield. I want to say yes, but what if it means I have to go hungry the next day? So I say no a lot. Loneliness sneaks in then, creeping like a silent companion. Emotional exhaustion follows closely behind financial stress. The constant pressure to make ends meet chips away at my confidence. There's this gnawing feeling that I'm not enough, that I'm failing somehow. Not just because I don't have money, but because I can't figure out how to escape this cycle. The moments I allow myself to imagine a different life, a better life, they're quickly replaced by the reality of late bills and the sinking pit in my stomach when I check my bank balance. I lie awake at night worrying about rent or the next car repair, or how I'll manage if I get sick and can't work for a day. Work isn't the refuge some might hope for either. I've been grinding for years at jobs that pay just enough to keep me afloat but don't leave much room for growth or savings. I see colleagues buying homes, traveling, investing, things that feel like myths to me now. The American dream or financial freedom seem like slogans written for someone else, someone with luck or privilege I don't have. Instead, I watch my paycheck get swallowed by essentials and debts, and I'm left wondering how people survive without feeling this constant anxiety. Coping has become its own challenge. Sometimes I numb the stress with TV or scrolling endlessly on my phone, which only adds to the guilt because it's time lost from searching for better opportunities or trying to learn skills that might improve my future. Other times, I try to distract myself with small joys, a walk in the park, an old playlist, a phone call with a friend. But those moments are fleeting. I'm always haunted by the looming thought, is this all I'll ever get? The dreams I had when I was younger feel more like a distant memory. I wanted to travel, to study further, maybe even start my own business someday. I imagined saving up for a home, maybe adopting a dog, and having the freedom to make choices without the constant fear of financial collapse. But each time I try to map out a plan, the numbers don't add up. The reality of my paycheck doesn't support those aspirations. It forces me to shelve them, sometimes indefinitely, and focus solely on survival. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, maybe this is just the way life is for most people, but then I remember stories from older relatives who talk about being able to save, buy homes, or send kids to college without drowning in debt. It makes me angry and sad all at once, angry at a system that's shifted so drastically in just one generation, sad because I feel like I'm paying for mistakes and policies beyond my control. I don't want to be stuck here forever, but I also don't see a clear exit. The cost of education is high, and opportunities feel scarce. I'm trying to be practical and patient, but patience is wearing thin. Every month that passes without progress is a reminder of how fragile my situation is. I keep telling myself that the small sacrifices, the ramen dinners, the skipped events, the long hours at work, will eventually pay off. But hope is a fragile thing, especially when it's weighed down by reality. Yet, despite all this, I'm still holding on to a sliver of hope. Maybe it's naive, maybe it's stubbornness, but I believe in a future where I can breathe a little easier, where money isn't a constant source of stress, where I can finally afford a night out without counting pennies or skip a paycheck without falling apart. I want to find balance, between working hard and living fully, between making ends meet and chasing dreams. It's a tall order, but it's the one thing that keeps me moving forward. I'm learning to be kind to myself, to acknowledge the struggle without letting it define me. Some days are harder than others, but I try to remember that this isn't a story of failure. It's a story of survival, of resilience in the face of an unforgiving economic landscape. Maybe one day I'll look back on these years as the time I found strength I didn't know I had. Until then, I keep going, one paycheck, one choice, one day at a time. I never thought I'd feel so stuck. Not because I'm lazy or unmotivated, but because the world around me feels like it's moving faster than I ever could, especially when it comes to money. I'm 27, working full-time, doing everything I'm supposed to do, steady job, paying rent on time, keeping a budget, avoiding unnecessary spending. But somehow, no matter what I do, it feels like I'm barely keeping my head above water. The bills keep piling up, the rent goes up, groceries cost more, and my paycheck stays the same. Every month, I'm reminded that this system wasn't designed for people like me to get ahead. I wake up every morning with this low-grade anxiety I can't shake. It's not panic exactly, but a constant knot of worry that tightens whenever I think about my bank account or the stack of unopened mail on my kitchen counter. There's always something I have to pay: utilities, credit card minimums, phone bills, student loans, and when I look at what's left over, it's almost laughable. Like there's this invisible hand holding me back, whispering that I'm not allowed to breathe easy or dream too big. It's exhausting. Some days, I get through the 9 to 5 on pure adrenaline, telling myself it'll get better, just keep pushing. But the truth is, it rarely does. I see my paycheck come in, and before I can even plan for anything fun or future-oriented, I'm already dividing it up to cover essentials. There's never any extra. I've learned to live without a safety net. I haven't had a vacation in years, haven't been to the dentist because I can't afford it, and the idea of saving for a down payment on a place is like staring at a mountain that grows taller every day. What hurts the most is how this pressure changes me. I used to be more carefree, more hopeful. I dreamed of traveling, maybe going back to school for something I love, or even starting a small side business. Now, those dreams feel like distant memories, luxuries I have to set aside because if I think about them too long, I get overwhelmed by how impossible they seem. I catch myself canceling plans with friends because I can't afford the price of a night out or gas to get there. The social isolation creeps in quietly, like another expense I can't pay. It's not just about money, it's how this financial squeeze shapes every decision, every feeling. When I'm in the grocery store, I'm not thinking about trying a new recipe or treating myself, I'm scanning prices and reaching for the cheapest options. When I see a new jacket or a book I want, I tell myself maybe next time, even if I know next time probably won't come soon. I feel guilty spending on anything that isn't essential, like I'm betraying some unspoken rule that I have to suffer quietly until I can somehow fix this mess. The hardest part is the feeling of being trapped. Like no matter how hard I work, or how carefully I budget, the cost of living is growing faster than my income. Inflation feels like a silent predator, eating away at my purchasing power every month. I know I'm not alone in this, so many people my age talk about the same thing, but knowing others struggle too doesn't make my own struggle any easier to bear. It just makes me wonder if this system is rigged in a way that leaves us all running in place. Some days, I dream about what it would be like to have a little breathing room. To have enough money to fix my car without panicking. To pay off my credit card and not hear the constant ding of overdue notices. To save something for retirement without feeling like I'm robbing my present self. To wake up without that tightness in my chest. Those dreams keep me going, even if they feel so fragile. I cope the best I can. I've become an expert at stretching every dollar, meal prepping, using coupons, swapping clothes with friends, taking the bus instead of driving. I've learned to celebrate small wins, a week without overdraft fees, a surprise discount on something I need. I talk to friends who understand, though sometimes I hesitate because I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. But keeping it all bottled up only makes the anxiety worse. I want to believe things will get better. Maybe I'll find a higher paying job, or the economy will stabilize, or I'll figure out a way to make some side income. I still hold on to that hope, but it's tempered by the reality that hope can be fragile. For now, I'm just doing what I can, one day at a time, $1 at a time. I'm learning to be gentle with myself, even when the system feels so unforgiving. This is my life right now, a balancing act on a tightrope made of rising expenses and stagnant wages, with dreams I'm forced to hold at arm's length. I'm tired, yes. But I'm still here, still trying, still hoping. And maybe that's enough, for today. I never thought I'd be this person, the one constantly counting pennies, checking my bank balance multiple times a day, and feeling like I'm always a few steps behind even when I'm running as fast as I can. Yet here I am, in my mid-20s, caught in this relentless cycle where every paycheck barely covers the basics, and the future I dreamed about feels further away than ever. It's hard to put into words how suffocating it is to live in a world where prices seem to have a mind of their own, gas going up, rent creeping higher every year, groceries that used to fit neatly into my budget now demanding sacrifices I don't want to make. Meanwhile, my income? It's barely moving. A small raise here, a side gig there, but none of it ever stacks up to the bills piling up in my inbox. The system feels rigged, like I'm on a treadmill that speeds up just when I think I've found my rhythm. No matter how hard I try, I can't outrun it. Mornings start with a sinking feeling. I wake up, stretch, and check my phone. There it is, my bank app glaring back at me with numbers that never feel enough. It's not just about the money, it's what that lack of money represents. It's stress, anxiety, a nagging voice in my head that says I'm failing somehow, even though I work 2 jobs and still scrape by. I avoid looking at the rent notice until the last possible second, because I know the panic will wash over me like a cold wave. I make a mental list of what I can skip this month. New clothes? Forget it. Eating out? Not a chance. Even things I love, like going to the gym or grabbing coffee with friends, become luxuries I can't justify. There's a deep loneliness that comes with this kind of financial pressure. I don't tell many people about it because I'm ashamed. It feels like admitting I'm not making it, that I'm somehow less successful or less capable than my peers. Sometimes, when friends talk about vacations or buying new cars or investing in their futures, I smile and nod, but inside, it stings. I want those things, too. I want to feel secure. But every time I think about starting a savings account or investing in education or even just planning for a weekend getaway, I have to shove those thoughts aside. They're not realistic anymore. Not when I'm choosing between groceries and utilities, or deciding whether to fill my prescription or cover a car repair. The emotional toll is exhausting. I get angry, at the economy, at rising inflation, at a world that demands more and more but seems to offer less. I get scared, too. What happens if something breaks down that I can't fix? What if I get sick or lose a job? There's no safety net for people like me. Every day feels like balancing on a tightrope with no guarantee of a solid landing. But I'm not just surviving, I'm trying to find ways to cope. Sometimes that means celebrating small victories, paying off a credit card, catching a sale on something essential, or even just making it through the week without overdrafting. I've gotten creative, cooking meals from scratch, using public transportation instead of owning a car, and saying no more often, even when it hurts. I've learned to find joy in things that don't cost money, evening walks, library books, phone calls with family. Despite all this, I hold on to hope, even if it's fragile. I remind myself that this moment doesn't have to define my entire life. One day, maybe I'll have a steady job with benefits, maybe I'll own a home, maybe I'll have the freedom to pursue passions without worrying about the next bill. But those dreams don't come easily, and sometimes I feel like I'm losing time. Years slipping by while I'm stuck patching holes instead of building something lasting. The hardest part is watching others move forward while I feel frozen in place. I try not to compare myself too much, but it's impossible not to notice when friends start families or buy houses or travel for fun. I'm proud of them, but it also hurts. It's like there's a different version of life out there, one I'm not invited to yet. Financial pressure has changed me. It's made me more resilient in some ways, but it's also worn me down. I've learned to be resourceful, but I've also had to sacrifice parts of myself, my confidence, my spontaneity, my peace of mind. I've had to postpone dreams that once felt certain, graduate school, a long trip abroad, starting my own business. Maybe those dreams will still come true, but for now, they're on hold. If I had one thing to say to someone who doesn't understand this experience, it's this: it's not just about money. It's about feeling trapped in a system where expenses grow faster than income, where every decision feels like a trade-off between survival and dignity. It's about the quiet despair of knowing you're working hard but still falling behind. It's about hoping, against hope, that things will get better, even when everything inside you says otherwise. I'm sharing this because I want someone to know they're not alone. Maybe you're feeling this way, too. Maybe you're tired, overwhelmed, and scared. That's okay. It's okay to admit it. We deserve to be seen and heard, not judged or ignored. One day, I hope to look back on this time and say I made it through. Until then, I'll keep holding on, to hope, to resilience, and to the belief that better days are ahead, even if I can't see them just yet. It's strange how the weight of money presses down on you when you least expect it. Some days, it feels like I'm carrying a heavy backpack stuffed with stones, only the stones are bills, debts, and the unrelenting cost of living. I'm 27, working a full-time job that barely covers the essentials, and somehow, every month I feel further behind. The rising expenses are relentless, and my paycheck seems to shrink the moment it hits my bank account. I wake up every morning knowing that the day will involve a series of tiny battles, deciding which bills get paid first, whether I can afford the groceries this week, and if I can scrape together enough for the bus fare. It's exhausting. I find myself constantly calculating, subtracting, and worrying. Even small pleasures, a cup of coffee with a friend, a new book, or a night out, have become rare luxuries. I watch my friends spend freely, and sometimes I envy their ease, even if I know they have their own struggles. The economic environment is unforgiving right now. Inflation keeps eating away at the value of my paycheck. Rent, utilities, groceries, they all climb higher each year, while wages remain stubbornly stagnant. The cost of healthcare, transport, and even internet access keeps going up. It's as if the system is designed to keep people like me in a loop, working harder and harder but never quite moving forward. There's a suffocating feeling in this cycle, like I'm running on a treadmill set to a speed I can't control. No matter how fast I run, I'm stuck in the same place. I feel trapped, but it's not just the money. It's the constant anxiety, the shame of saying no, the guilt when I can't contribute or help others, and the hopelessness that creeps in during quiet moments. Every choice I make feels strategic, not because I want it to be, but because I have no other option. If I splurge on groceries, I might have to skip a utility bill. If I take the bus instead of Uber, I save money but add extra time to my commute and lose hours I could have spent resting or learning new skills. Sometimes, I push myself to pick up freelance gigs or odd jobs after work, even when I'm exhausted, just to cover the gaps. But the fatigue is real, and burnout is close. I have dreams, big ones, that I tuck away like fragile paper cranes. I wanted to travel, to see new places, to learn languages, to go back to school, and maybe start a business one day. I imagined a life where I didn't have to count every penny or feel like I was constantly one step from falling off the edge. But those dreams have been postponed indefinitely, sometimes with the excuse of later, but often with a sinking feeling that later might never come. Some days, I feel a quiet anger at the system that seems to favor the wealthy and overlook the struggles of people like me. Others, I feel deeply lonely, as if no one truly understands how hard it is to survive on the margins when everything is designed to be just out of reach. I don't want pity, but I want recognition, that this isn't about laziness or poor choices, but about a system that makes it nearly impossible to get ahead. To cope, I've had to develop mental armor and small rituals that keep me sane. I journal my thoughts, trying to untangle the mess in my head. I hold on to tiny moments of joy, like the warmth of sunlight on my face, a good book borrowed from the library, or a call with a friend who listens without judgment. I remind myself that my worth isn't measured by my bank balance or the things I can buy. Still, the nights can be the hardest. When the world quiets down and the noise of the day fades, the worries come flooding back. What if I get sick? What if I lose my job? What if I can't keep up with the bills? The fear gnaws at me, but I try to breathe through it, to remind myself that I'm doing my best. I hold on to hope, even if it feels fragile. Hope that one day the economy will change, or I'll find a better opportunity, or that I can build a safety net strong enough to catch me if I fall. I dream of a future where I don't have to live paycheck to paycheck, where I can invest in myself and my happiness without guilt. It might seem distant, but it keeps me moving forward. This story isn't unique, I know many people who feel the same. But sharing it feels important. It's a reminder that behind the statistics and headlines, there are real lives weighed down by financial pressures that affect every decision, every emotion, every dream. I am more than my bank account, more than my struggles, but I won't pretend it's easy. This is my truth, messy and vulnerable, and I hope it resonates with someone out there who feels just as trapped. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that acknowledging the struggle is the first step toward change, both personal and systemic. And maybe, just maybe, telling my story helps me inch closer to the life I want to live. I never thought I'd find myself here, stuck in this endless loop where no matter how hard I work, the numbers just don't add up. Each month, I watch the same story unfold. My paycheck lands in my account, then almost immediately, it feels like it's slipping through my fingers. Rent, bills, groceries, transit, the list is relentless, and somehow, everything keeps getting more expensive while my income barely budges. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, and no matter how fast I sprint, I never get closer to the finish line. I'm 26, living in a small, cramped apartment in the city. It's nothing fancy, but at least it's mine, for now. I share the space with a roommate, mainly because splitting rent makes it just a bit more bearable. The neighborhood's changed a lot since I moved in 2 years ago, gentrification creeping in slowly but surely, pushing prices higher. The little grocery store I used to rely on closed down last month, replaced by a boutique cafe that serves overpriced coffee and artisanal pastries. It's a daily reminder that the world around me is becoming less and less affordable, and I'm getting squeezed out. I try to budget carefully. I track every dollar, every cent, because I know how quickly it can all vanish if I'm not vigilant. But budgets only work when your income grows at a pace that keeps up with inflation, and mine hasn't. I got a small raise last year, but by the time you factor in rising utility bills, higher rent, and the soaring cost of food, it felt more like a slap in the face than a celebration. Sometimes I think the economy's designed to keep people like me just on the edge, never quite drowning, but never really able to breathe easy either. Some days, I skip meals just to make rent. Not out of choice, but out of necessity. It's humiliating, honestly. I'm in my 20s, supposed to be building a life, exploring the world, maybe even saving for something like a house or a car someday. But those dreams feel farther away every day, like they're for someone else, for people who don't have to count pennies to survive. I remember the dreams I had in college, before reality hit me hard, traveling, starting my own business, maybe even going back for a master's degree. All of it's been pushed to the back burner, shoved aside because there's no money left over after I pay my bills and try to keep my head above water. The emotional toll is heavy. It's not just the constant worry about money, it's the way it eats away at my sense of self-worth. I sometimes feel invisible, like the world only sees me as a number on a spreadsheet or a debtor. It's exhausting, feeling like I'm fighting a system rigged against me. I worry about the future, a future where I might never get out of this cycle, where the weight of financial pressure becomes too much to bear. Anxiety has become a regular visitor. I have restless nights, staring at the ceiling, calculating what would happen if I lost my job or if an unexpected expense popped up. Spoiler, it would be a disaster. But I'm trying to cope, even if it's just barely. I lean on small routines, walking instead of taking the bus, cooking at home instead of eating out, canceling subscriptions I don't absolutely need. I keep my phone on airplane mode at night to save battery and data, which also helps me disconnect from the constant stream of buy-this ads that feel like another layer of pressure. Sometimes I call my parents, though I hate talking about money with them because I don't want to burden them with my struggles. I've learned to hide the cracks in my armor, but inside, I'm fraying. There are moments of hope, though, brief flickers that remind me I'm not completely lost. A kind word from a coworker, a small win like paying off a credit card balance, or even just a night out with friends where we laugh until it hurts, pretending the weight of the world isn't pressing down on us. Those moments keep me going, even if they're rare. I dream of a day when money doesn't dictate every choice I make. When I can say yes to opportunities without asking myself if I can afford them. When I can invest in myself, my education, my passions, without fear. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine a future where I'm not just surviving but thriving, where I have enough to save for a rainy day and even help those I love. But for now, that future feels distant, like a light at the end of a very long, dark tunnel. This story isn't just mine. I see it in my friends, in strangers on the bus, in the news stories about rising homelessness and stagnant wages. It's a reality for so many young adults today, caught in a system where expenses grow faster than incomes, where survival feels like a daily battle, and dreams are put on hold indefinitely. I'm sharing this because maybe, somewhere out there, someone else feels the same. Maybe together, our voices can remind the world that behind the statistics and the headlines are real people struggling to find their footing. I don't have all the answers, but I do know this: I'm still here, still trying, still hoping for a better tomorrow, even when it feels impossibly far away. I never thought I'd feel this way in my mid-20s, like I'm sinking, quietly and relentlessly, under the weight of bills I can't seem to outrun. Every morning I wake up hoping today will be different, but the numbers staring back at me from my phone screen say otherwise. Rent due, utilities, groceries, gas, insurance, the endless list of expenses marching faster than the paycheck that's supposed to cover them. It's exhausting. Growing up, I imagined I'd be building something, a career, a life I could afford to enjoy. Maybe I'd travel a bit, or at least take a decent vacation once in a while. Instead, I'm just trying to keep my head above water. Some days, I barely feel like myself anymore. I feel like a calculator, constantly balancing costs against the little income one have, trying to squeeze pennies out of places where there's nothing left to squeeze. The truth is, the economy is like this invisible beast gnawing away at every decision I make. When I look at my paycheck, part of me still hopes there'll be some leftover for the extras, the things that make life feel worth living. But the reality is brutal. Prices are rising so fast that my modest wage barely covers necessities, let alone anything beyond. I've stopped buying fresh vegetables, opting instead for cheaper, less nutritious options. I skip the occasional night out with friends, not because I don't want to be there, but because I'm terrified of what a $20 dinner or drinks means for my week's budget. Every day feels like a balancing act on a tightrope that's fraying. The rent goes up again, by $50 this month, and my anxiety spikes. I call my landlord, explain my situation, try to negotiate, but the answer is always the same: market rates. It sounds so clinical, so detached, but it's a slap in the face for someone like me trying to carve out stability. I keep reminding myself that if I had a higher-paying job, if inflation wasn't outpacing my raises, maybe this wouldn't feel like such a constant battle. But those are just ifs and maybes. I've become hyper-aware of every small cost. That coffee I loved so much in the mornings? Now it's an occasional treat, only if I'm feeling like I can afford a moment of normalcy. The gym membership I signed up for last year, full of hope and motivation? I froze the account because even $30 a month feels like a luxury. And the hobbies I used to spend hours on, photography, writing, going to concerts, they've slipped quietly out of reach, replaced by endless hours of working overtime or hunting for side gigs. It's not just about money, though. There's this pervasive feeling of being trapped in a system designed to keep me on a treadmill, running faster but never getting anywhere. I see friends buying homes, starting families, investing in their futures, and it feels like a distant world I'm no longer part of. Sometimes I wonder if they feel the same pressure or if I'm just unlucky, or maybe not working hard enough. But the truth I can't shake is that no matter how hard I hustle, the rising costs keep pushing the goalposts further away. Emotionally, it's a heavy weight. I carry guilt when I have to say no to invitations, shame when I can't keep up with conversations about travel or new gadgets. I feel isolated, like I'm watching life happen around me but never quite joining in. Nights are often the worst, lying awake thinking about how I'm going to pay next month's bills, whether I should start cutting back even more, or if I'll have to borrow again. That constant background anxiety is exhausting and sometimes overwhelming. I cope the best I can. I make meticulous budgets, scour discount apps, cook at home using whatever's on sale. I talk to a few close friends who get it, their struggles mirror mine, and that shared experience helps, even if only a little. I've started journaling to get the weight off my chest, to remind myself that this is a phase, not the whole story. Some days, I allow myself to dream about a better future, one where I'm not just surviving but thriving. I used to dream big. I wanted to go back to school and finish my degree, maybe start a business, travel to places that felt like magic in the glossy magazines. I pictured a life where I could give my family more than just my presence, where I could give them security, a home without fear of eviction, and little luxuries to celebrate milestones. Those dreams haven't disappeared, but many of them are on indefinite hold because right now, I'm just trying to keep the lights on. There's a part of me that feels angry, at the system, at the economic landscape that feels so unforgiving, at the fact that hard work isn't enough to break through the ceiling of financial stress. But I also feel a stubborn hope, small and flickering, that things will change. That maybe someday I'll look back and see this as the hard chapter that taught me resilience and grit. I want to believe that all this struggle isn't in vain, that the sacrifices will lead to something better. For now, though, I take it day by day. I remind myself that even though expenses rise faster than income, I'm still here, still fighting, still dreaming. And maybe that's enough for today. I never thought I'd feel this way at 27, like I'm sinking, quietly, in slow motion. Not from anything dramatic, no sudden heartbreak or disaster. It's this relentless, grinding weight that comes from just trying to live and keep up when everything around me seems to be speeding ahead. The bills grow faster than my paycheck, and no matter how hard I try to stretch every dollar, it's like trying to hold water in my hands. I remember the first time I really felt the pinch. It was a few years ago, right after I graduated college and landed my first full-time job. Back then, I was naive, sure that if I just worked hard and saved a little, I'd be fine. Rent was affordable, or so I thought, and I managed to keep my phone bill, utilities, and groceries within my budget. I had hopes, big ones: travel, starting my own business, maybe even buying a home someday. But that was before rent crept up by hundreds of dollars, before groceries doubled in price, before every unexpected expense felt like a punch in the gut. These days, the numbers don't lie. My income hasn't really grown in years, but my expenses have ballooned beyond what I can cover without borrowing, selling things, or skipping out on essentials. It's the kind of pressure that doesn't just live in your bank account, it burrows into your head, your chest, your sense of self. I wake up every morning wondering if I'll make it through the month, if I'll have to dip into savings I don't have, or worse, take on more debt just to survive. It's exhausting. Every decision feels weighted. Should I skip dinner out with friends? It's only $15, but that $15 could buy groceries. Should I wait on fixing my car even though the brakes are making that awful noise? Maybe, but that's a risk with my safety. Should I apply for that promotion even though it means longer hours and less time for myself? I don't know if the extra income will even be worth the toll on my mental health. I'm constantly juggling the immediate against the long term, and usually the immediate wins because I can't afford to gamble. I've had to put off dreams that once seemed so close. Traveling? Forget it. Even a weekend trip feels like a luxury I can't justify. Starting a side hustle? The time and upfront costs are barriers I can't cross right now. Saving for a down payment on a house? That's a joke. Every month I try to put something aside, but it disappears faster than I can save it. And it's not just the money. It's what it does to me, how it colors my self-worth, my relationships, my hope. I feel invisible sometimes, like I'm stuck on the sidelines watching others move forward. Friends buy homes, get married, start families, while I'm still wrestling with whether I can pay my phone bill on time. There's a shame in that, a feeling that I've somehow failed even though I'm doing everything I can. But I'm not just lying down under this pressure. I cope where I can. I've become a master of small hacks, buying groceries on sale, cooking meals from scratch instead of ordering takeout, canceling subscriptions I don't really need, and learning to say no to social invitations without guilt. I lean on the people who understand, who don't judge me for turning down a night out. I try to remind myself that this is temporary, even though some days it doesn't feel that way. I've also learned to take small moments of joy seriously, watching the sunset from my apartment window, calling my sister just to hear a friendly voice, getting lost in a book or podcast for a little escape. These don't erase the pressure, but they make it bearable. Deep down, though, there's still that flicker of hope. Maybe one day, I'll break free from this cycle. Maybe the economy will stabilize or my career will finally take off in a way that makes a real difference. Maybe I'll have the space to dream big again without the weight of constant worry dragging me down. I hold on to those maybes like lifelines. For now, though, I'm here, working hard, making tough choices, and learning to live with uncertainty. It's not glamorous or easy, but it's my reality. And if sharing this helps even one person feel less alone, then maybe there's something hopeful in that too. Because the truth is, I'm tired. But I'm still standing. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.